Lucky here. I had unsupervised access to a nanosecond pulse laser and a high-speed camera recently, so I wanted to make a quick video on what I'm calling light-speed videography, which is basically using ultra-high-speed cameras and ultra-fast lasers to create videos of light bouncing around an environment. This video was inspired by Alpha Phoenix's video, where he actually built a system to do this from scratch. However, I'm lazy, so I just waited until the tools to do this fell into my lap. Now, without any further yapping, let's see how the experiment works. Here is the experimental setup. This white box here is a nanosecond pulse laser. I have it set up to produce a 0.3 joule pulse, which is about 5 nanoseconds long, every 10 seconds. So the laser is actually flashing on and off here, although I have the camera set so that it looks like it's just continuous. So the beam comes out here, reflects off of these two steering mirrors, and then goes all the way over to the other side of the lab here, and reflects off of this mirror. Then reflects all the way back, and off of this mirror, back once more, then off of this mirror, again, and then off of this fixed mirror. And finally, it enters through this lens, which focuses it down, reflects off of this mirror towards the ceiling, and then we get a diffuse beam on the ceiling. And also, since this lens is reflecting quite a bit, I also get a spot on the floor. I put some smoke in the air to help visualize the beam. And then this whole thing is captured by this intensified CCD camera. This is pretty neat. It's essentially like a normal CCD camera that you would find in, a modern dedicated camera, but it has an intensifier on it, which allows it to be exposed for only 3 nanoseconds, so about 3 billionths of a second. And I have it set up here so that when I run this, it will be triggered from this cable off of the laser, so that's synchronized. And every single frame it takes will be delayed by 1 nanosecond more than the previous frame. So if I start the exposure, initially it's dark, and then we start to see the laser beam propagating from one side of the room to the other. The video is being taken at 1 billion frames per second, although this is kind of misleading, since each frame is taken on a separate laser pulse, with a slightly longer delay each time. That means that every time the camera receives the signal that the laser is fired, it waits 1 nanosecond longer than it did on the last pulse before starting its exposure. With this technique, we can make the apparent delay between each frame look arbitrarily short, or even negative, to make it look like time is reversed. In reality, the camera is only taking 10 frames per second, 1 for each pulse of the laser. The 3 nanosecond exposure time is a better way of characterizing how fast the camera is, since this determines how smeared out the laser beam will look in each frame. Light moves about 1 meter in 3 nanoseconds, so the beam will be smeared out by about that distance in each frame. Since the laser pulse is only 5 nanoseconds long, plus the 3 nanoseconds of smearing, we should get a beam that appears to be about 8 light nanoseconds, or about 3 meters, in length. Not quite as short as a Star Wars blaster bullet, but pretty close. However, the laser beam looks shorter and slower while moving away from the camera, and seems to come back almost instantly. This is because we're not seeing the scene as it is at a single point in time. It takes the light longer to reach the camera from farther away regions, so we're seeing them as they were a few nanoseconds ago. This is the reason we can still see the light from some distant stars that probably went supernova long ago, and raises the question of whether it even makes sense to talk about what's happening now at some distant location, but I won't get into that here. Another thing you can do with this camera's short exposure but low frame rate is to combine effects on vastly different timescales. Here's a video of me trying to measure the speed of light before getting bored and walking away. These are the only 2 videos I've taken so far. Leave a comment below if you have an idea for something interesting to video with the laser beam. That's all for now. See you later!